Sit down! Nobody talk! Sit down!
Make histories in front of our faces. In our faces. And you have to try to take it, guys. If I want to play we play. When the other is bad, shake hands. But you are not bad enough. If you became a top team, you have to score the goals, guys. You are sad? There are many sads. But you have to learn to play football with courage. Our best thing in our season is because it doesn't matter where we were, we play with a character with courage to play. We are tired, you. We are tired, you.
Hey, we back. Welcome to episode 16. 16? Right? Don't want to mess this up again. Cool. Episode 16 of Shades of Blue podcast. United States' most comprehensive podcast covering all 4 time zones from the Mississippi to the Pacific. My name is Crunk Chocolate, and they can't pronounce nothing past that Visace. I am with Tarik, Danielle, Thom, and Charlie. How's it going, fellas?
What's good? So good.
Glad to be a part of the most comprehensive podcast in the States, baby.
It's good to see all of you all together again. I was really lucky to have Charlie join me for the Euro show yesterday. That just dropped. Crunk did a great job cutting that up for us, and so also go listen to that.
First things first, rate and review the podcast. 5 stars or what's the point? Follow the podcast on Twitter at Shades of Blue Pod. Tag us using the hashtag Shade Gang. Add us a podcast individually. Somehow, some way, it'll get to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where the visual episodes drop 24 hours after the audio experience is released. Subscribe to the Twitch where you can watch recordings live. Shout out to anyone watching on Twitch. There is like one person who consistently watches. So shout out to whoever you are. Links to all things SOB Pod, it's in the show notes. In today's episode, we will talk the Man City US tour. I was in the heat of Houston. Tarik lived through the torrential rain and saw Holland's first goal in a City shirt. Charlie, Thom, and Danielle, they were the eyes in the sky, baby. And we will end the episode talking about the Community Shield. We'll get to the games in due time, but non-Man City based. How are y'all? What have you been up to? Let's start with Danielle because we missed you from the last pod.
Hey everyone, yeah, I know I've been busy. I don't know if you can tell, but I've been redecorating my room. Painted this wall. Painting is a huge pain in the ass, I have to say. But it got done, and I painted it a nice blue. I wanted to go with the city sky blue, but I feel like that just would have been a little too distracting when I'm trying to get work done. But yeah, eventually I'm looking into sourcing like a signed jersey, and I think I'm leaning towards Aguero, and I'd like to do either like 2012 or one of the title winning seasons, one of the seasons where he was actually healthy and fit and firing and stuff. So stay tuned for that.
As Thom said, just enjoying the women's Euros, Copa America Femenina, missing in the NWSL, but happy they start back this week. It's been really nice to just finish up July, my last couple of weeks of break before teachers go back August 1. So, enjoying every second I have without children or dealing with any school-related stuff.
Yeah, I've just been consuming all of this footy, just like Charlie said, the Women's Euros, Copa America Femenina, CONCACAF W wrapped up, Women's AFCON just wrapped up in Morocco. That, and I did realize the other day that every one of you has said that you all are attached to someone, and I'm like the only single person of the group. And I realized that this weekend as I was living the single life, and I was like, I'm too old for this shit.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
So that's what I've been up to.
What have you been up to, Tarik? I mean, obviously, we'll get to it.
Man, I feel like
you've been a busy man. I feel it.
constantly. Obviously, last time we talked, I think we had just got back from Florida. Then basically took this weekend, went up to Green Bay, headed out to Boston on um, Wednesday. So it's just I'm in like a mad sprint all around the country right now. But I don't mind the flying piece of it. It's the driving piece that kicks your butt. So I made the mistake of so I live in Fort Wayne. I'm flying out of Detroit, which is about a 2 hour drive. It's one thing to do it when you got to get on the plane. It's another thing when you get back, you come back in and you're like, oh, I'm done. Nope, I got 2 hours more to go before I get home. So, not looking forward to that piece of it. But for shame, I would change my ticket and fly out of Fort Wayne. But it's just so much more money. Um, but yeah, man, just ready to calm down and slow my pace just a little bit.
No, I feel that. I did that. I could have left from my city, but it would cost more, and we would just hop on a tiny little plane that would land in Chicago, and I'd have to transfer to another plane. So did the 3 hour drive, and like you said, the drive there, it's not bad. But we got back at like 11 p.m. and there's supposed to be a 24-hour shuttle. It's O'Hare, and they didn't have it available. It starts at like 8 in the morning, so we had to pay for a taxi to drive 6 minutes and then do the 3 hour drive. So didn't get home and in bed after showering and decompressing till like 3:30. It was rough. It took a few days for my brain to descramble. So I completely feel that. But uh, yeah, like you, I have a few other trips to finish the summer off. Have a friend who's getting married in Mexico, so we're gonna do like the all-inclusive thing, a destination wedding. So it's like a small group of people. So I already don't know anyone other than the bride. So that helps when it's a controlled amount of people as opposed to walking into a wedding with hundreds of people and you're like, this is going to be chaos. Hopefully the DJ's good and there's an open bar because that can fix anything. Man City have spent the last 10 days or so in the United States. Uh, can we just start with that part though? The content on social media has been great. The YouTube content, if you aren't a viewer of their stuff, at least if you're a United States citizen, it I would say look at their week of content while they're in the U.S. because it was pretty fun and it was chef's kiss. Like the photo of Scott Carson and JWE in the cowboy outfits, that was hilarious. Me being a Packers fan, watching my favorite European football team playing inside the stadium and my favorite American football team, like that's a crossover I literally never thought I'd see. There's a photo of Kevin and Aaron Rodgers. Like we won't talk about Aaron Rodgers as a person, but like the fact they were doing like a shirt swap, that was really cool. Like like brain, seriously, I had to pause for a second. Uh, just the overall sensation that they're closer to me for that week or so, because you know, the English game, it can feel distant. Uh, there's a giant mass of water between us, but it is the community and social media that kind of gives me that Man City connection that I need as a US based fan. But they cross the body of water. They're here. The players, cities that brought in, they let live, let leave, and decided to keep. Like shout outs to Ake. Seeing them in person, meeting many City fans in person who had overflowing well springs of passion for the club. I really do feel reinvigorated for the season. The razzle dazzle I am feeling, it could be based off of just my Houston experience. Uh, let's start again with Charlie, Thom, and then Danielle. Y'all didn't go to the game, but you've seen the content shared and you watched the games. And City, they were in the U.S., the same country we live in. Do you all feel kind of the same way I do overall about the season and the 10 days they were here? Or do I just sound like someone who took a 50 milligram edible?
Can both things be true? Just asking for my brothers who
I
let the
mean,
answer.
it might be.
So I would say for me that I think one of the things that when I woke up on Sunday, um, it was great, like having watched the match. There was something about my body clock. It was like, okay, it's time to watch football now. Like it's time to watch Premier League football, and it just wasn't there. And I think I'm at this was the greatest primer for that, like them being so close, knowing that I'm about to get back into my routine of waking up at 4:15 in the morning for a 4:30 kickoff, and on a Saturday. But like I'm excited to do it. So I think them being here and like seeing everything, all of the social media content that's been out there, it's just gotten me ready to get back into that routine of watching them every weekend.
For me, there was a little bit of FOMO, and not like jealousy, just like a wow, I wish I could be in Houston right now. Not so much the Green Bay one, Tarek. I had no FOMO when I saw the forecast, but for to be in Houston and like just the experience and such a bigger city, especially compared to Green Bay. Like, and it just seemed like obviously City spent more time down there. That looked really cool. When I went to Hollywood, watched the Bayern match with Hollywood FC, MCFC. Um, Two of the girls, they're twins actually, pretty cool. They were there in Houston. They were telling me all about it and how cool it was, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I'm really happy that people didn't have to pay an arm and a leg to fly across, to another continent to go see City. They could just make, travel arrangements in our interesting country and get it done. So happy for y'all.
I was feeling FOMO too, honestly, and I think what made it worse for me is I had the chance to see the last time they were in the U.S. They went to L.A. and I was living there at the time, and I think they went and they played at the USC like facilities or stadium or whatever or around USC. And I was living in Koreatown, so it was like a 10-15 minute drive. And I was actively following the team at the time, but for one reason or another, I was just like, maybe I think I wasn't as like fervent or like frenzied to just like get any sort of City content. But yeah, it was apparently they did like the actual match was against Real, and then they also did like an open training session, where people could just like literally walk over to the legends, right? Aguero, Company, Silva, and just talk to them and stuff. So that was like five years ago. It was 2017. A lot of regrets. I think I've definitely become a lot more, um, yeah, a lot more desperate to see them in person. So it was definitely feeling the FOMO. Also, I don't know if we'll touch on this later, but I was feeling like a lot of frustration for both of the matches because I really wanted to just have a smooth viewing experience because I couldn't, be there in person. Um, but for like the Houston match, I don't know if y'all saw people complaining about the City Plus app and how like you'd pay, but they wouldn't actually give you access. So that happened to me both times. I had paid for the subscription and I wasn't able to like get on there. So that's just irritating, and especially after a couple months of just being starved of like any sort of like content, City content, it was just irritating to have to deal with that. And I think it's all kind of it all kind of builds up to just an overall frustration with being able to view sports in 2022. I would pay a lot of money to just have like be able to watch City just like no frills, right? Just like let me just pay and watch. I'll pay 10, 15, $20 a month. But it's just not happening, just the fact that I have to like get a VPN or like find a stream and stuff like that. It's just, hope it changes.
I saw some Hollywood MCFC people at Pitch 25. Some people were wearing shirts, and I just like went up to them and I tried to like be like, "Hey, my buddy," and they basically were just like, "Cool story, bro. Keep it moving." And I was like, "All right, fine." But that was kind of the experience with that. I'd bounce around and there'd be some people who wanted to know my life story, and then there were some people who were just like, "Hey, you're fucking up the vibe," and I was just like, "Hey, it's fine. Let's just keep it moving." But Tarik, your experience was technically the most recent. Tell me about yours, the game in Green Bay, and then from there in general, we can just talk about that game in Green Bay and all the
Yeah,
chaos that
so
followed.
Friday night, you look at the weather, it says it's supposed to rain on like the one day that I just don't want it to rain. So I was already a little messed up on Friday night. I will tell you that the process of getting so Saturday morning we wake up, I end up going to Walmart because I'm like, it's gonna be raining all game. We need like little rain ponchos or whatever. Um, so it's like I hate the fact that it's supposed to rain. I hope it doesn't, but I gotta be at least somewhat prepared. Um, so that slowed us down. We got a little bit later start than I would have liked. And then, we leave Indiana, we're driving into south side of Chicago, no problem. You get around to the north side of Chicago and then you run into traffic. And then you get out of that and you run into more traffic. And you run into more traffic. Again, my family is from Gary, Indiana area, so that's on the northwest side of the state. So I'm used to Chicago traffic, but not that day. That just wasn't the day for that. You know what I'm saying? So the process of getting to the stadium really kind of threw me off. We got there much later than we were really hoping to get there because of traffic and everything. And it just kind of threw off the whole vibe for me, to be honest with you. My expectation was going to get there. I was going to be able to go do the fan fest with the trophy and all this stuff, right? But we get there so late that now I got to make a choice. Do I go to the fan fest or do I just go straight to my seat? It would have been early, but whatever. We go to the fan fest. Um, the line to see the trophy is like a million miles long. I'm debating, am I going to get in this line? Because I want to take a picture with the trophy. Finally, I decide, okay, we're going to get in the line. I get in the line. Mind you, it's probably 5:00, 5 something. And they already told you up front that, hey, we're going to stop at 5:30. So I'm in this line. And then you can hear them because I'm getting closer. And then you hear them say, we're cutting it off. There's a whole group of people in the line, most of them City fans, to see this trophy, and they cut it off. So I was already kind of, ticked off about getting there later than I wanted to. Then I didn't get to see the trophy. Quite honestly, I was going into the stadium mad, to be honest with you, because it just, I had built this up in my head, what this experience was going to be. And it was everything but that for me at that moment. As I'm standing in the line, because at this point it's cloudy, but it's not raining. As I'm standing in the line trying to see the trophy, just before they tell me that I can't see the trophy because they're going to take it away, then it starts to rain. So now I'm getting wet. I'm ticked. Well, quite honestly, I'm pissed. I'm kind of pissed, right? I'm like, oh, this is horrible. I done drove 6+ hours, but with all the traffic, and I'm getting rained on. I didn't get to see the trophy. So we go in, we stand in the line to get actually into the stadium. As we're walking to our seats or whatever, I'm pretty sure, I want to say even before we actually got to go to our seats, it was the first lightning strike. And so they kind of delayed it a little bit. So we didn't even get to our seats. We're in the concourse and people start filing out. And you're out there and you're like, I'm already ticked. But then all of a sudden, just behind me, maybe 20 feet or so, you hear somebody start singing. And you hear that call and response, and you hear that chanting going. And before you know it, I didn't feel so pissed no more. I was just the vibe was so, I was like, I told you guys on a previous podcast, on a previous episode, the reason I wanted to go to Nashville 5 years ago is I wanted to be a part of the singing and whatever, right? This was that moment. I put several video clips on Twitter from just being in the concourse. As far as the fan vibe between the game and the concourse was the best part of it. And that was the behind the scenes part that nobody else get to see except you were there. But you had all these City fans. Of course, there were some Bayern fans, but most of these people in here are City fans. And the songs kick off. And it's just one after another, after another, after another. And it's just like, oh, I love this. My kids are like, looking at dad acting a fool. The Yaya Kolo Tori song goes off. So I'm dancing around. Everybody's jumping around. And my kids are like, dad's a nut, but whatever, do you have a good time? So by the time the first one ends and we get to go out there, I'm feeling much better. I'm in a much better space now because I don't got to be around some City fans and jump around and act a fool. Then the game starts. And that, 12 minutes in, literally right after he scores, lightning strike in the area. And so you can see it up on the scoreboard. Oh, we got to have another delay. And I seen somebody on Twitter post when they were talking about it. They were talking about it, and they were just like, it was as if, Thor, the god of thunder, scores, and here comes this lightning, here comes the rain. And it was such an apt description. It's like you couldn't have written it any better. Now, mind you, I hated being in the rain, but you couldn't have written it any better for that moment, So it was a blast, man. It's yeah. It was an amazing experience standing in there, and seeing my wife and my kids, and they're there for me, but I could see them kind of getting into it a little bit too. So that was awesome to experience, man. It was great. I was able to talk my wife into agreeing for me to go over to the Etihad. Now I've just got to probably schedule it before she changes her mind. Uh, I don't know when, but so my brother and his girlfriend were there, and we were talking about it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I was like, I got to get my passport situation squared away." He was like, "Oh yeah, mine expires next year." I was like, "Well, that just means we had to go this year." So I told my wife, and she was like, "Okay, go have a good time." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What?" But then I don't ask her about it because I don't want to, bring it back up again. I want to change her mind. So it's like, now I just got to book before it's too late. I already bought the ticket. Can't get it back. So, man, the only thing that could have been better was if I could have been there earlier. But with just coming back from Florida and everything that had been going on, there's just too much going on for me to get there any earlier. But that was the only way that experience could have been any better for me. I guess it could have not been raining because again, it was wet. It wasn't cold, but it was just wet. But yeah, it was amazing. I posted. I think you guys have probably all seen it, but there was a guy sitting next to me, and he's got a City shirt on. So I'm like, "Hey, where you from?" Boom, boom, boom. And come to find out, his name is Shub. He's from Canada. I didn't get what part of Canada, but he said he drove 10 hours to get there. So we took this picture, and um, lots of people have been commenting on that picture. And he was him and a buddy. They just drove 10 hours to come down, and his buddy was sitting a couple rows in front of us, and he was like, "Oh yeah," because he looks to be Indian, so he's like, "Oh yeah, the other brown guy down there." Yeah, we struck that up. My wife's like, "Oh, you just made a friend." I was like, "Everybody with blue on is my friend. What are you talking about?" So yeah, we had a blast, man. I would definitely encourage anybody who has not had that opportunity to do it. Actually, like I said, the concourse was better to me than the actual game. There were a couple people singing during the game, but it wasn't to the level of the concourse. But I'll shut up because I don't monopolize enough time here. Let's go ahead and go from there. Shoot.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna ask you another question anyway. But first off, shout out to Shub. He followed the pod and everything, and he must
Well,
be pretty new to Twitter.
nah, see,
So
this is
you
the
might have
thing.
inspired the
This
man
is the
to
thing. I
get a
asked
Twitter
him
because I
because
saw
I
that
was like,
he.
okay, I'm gonna post this picture. I said, do you have Twitter? He's like, I really don't do the whole social media thing. Okay. So I'll just like type your name in, boom, and do that. I really think, and I really think enough people saw it. Enough people saw it that
Once he
somebody
started getting
who
those
who, who
likes,
knows him was like, dude, your this picture's going around, whatever. Because then I saw that he posted and was like, oh, thanks or whatever, and I was like, dude, if I would have known your Twitter handle, I would have tagged you in the original tweet. Um, that's why we need to make it so I can go in and edit the tweet so I can add his at. But um, yeah, he was good dude, City fan.
and the other question was, as a Packers fan, how was it being at Lambeau on the field? What was like the vibe? Because I'm a Cardinals fan, but I admittedly going to Wrigley for the first time was
Yeah,
like
so
transformative. It
I'm
was
not
really
a
cool.
Packers fan, but I understand the magnitude of the franchise. You're sitting in the stadium. We were on one end behind the goals, and you look around, and they kind of got, and I don't know what they call it there. Some places call it like their Ring of Fire, I think is what the Cowboys call it, or whatever. But you can see the different names. You see Brett Favre's name up here, and it's got hit the years that he's played or whatever, his number or whatever. And you look around, there's Reggie White, and then you look over there, and there's Vince Lombardi, and it's like, wow, this is crazy. And then you understand that basically this is the same stadium from all those years ago. They've added on to it, or they've done some renovations, but there aren't there aren't chairs. It's bleacher seats. It's a bench, because they kept it the same way that it was way back then. And it's really only the upper sections, the newer sections, that actually have actual chairs or seats. So yeah, you definitely recognize the magnitude of where you are. But I think so. This is me complaining, right? I think part of the issue with parking is because if you build a stadium today, there's going to be requirements for, you got to have so much parking, whatever, whatever. That probably didn't exist back then, right? So they got a little couple parking spots or lots close by the stadium, but most of it is you're parking in Joe Blow's backyard for $20, or this business down here, you're parking their lot for $20. And so it's like, just get the closest spot you can find and then walk to the stadium. So yeah, it was cool. Definitely. And it's big, right? So there was like 80,000 people, effectively 78,000 some change, that were there. So that was awesome. I like that, definitely like that better than Nashville when I went a couple years ago. Um, the only so I've told this story before, but I took my daughter to see Chelsea some years ago as well, when they were playing against Real Madrid, and that was at the Big House, Michigan football. That stadium is insane. I mean, it's literally over 100,000 people in this stadium. And so having been there, it didn't feel like Green Bay was, too massive, but I definitely recognize it's a big stadium. So yeah, man, it's a blast. I would say if you're a Packers fan, I would say, definitely go. Just be prepared for parking and getting into the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of those vibes around us. We have a relatively popular fair, like a county fair around here, and that's kind of how it is. You can either park in the parking lot, and that costs more than it does to even get inside the state fair or the valley fair, and or you can just drive a couple blocks away and just park in some random neighborhood, and people are just like, go for it. And you might get the occasional person who will be like, hey, give me like $10. But for the most part, it's just lawless. So when you were talking about that, I knew the vibes already.
Dude, I'm literally, these people were parking in these people's backyard. Like, you know, there's the side of their house. Like, literally, they were driving their cars around the side of their house. And, you know, there's not much room. So if you got an SUV, you probably have maybe a couple feet clearance on each side. But they just pulled into the back. And I'm sure those people, I couldn't see them, but because they were on the front of the house. But I'm sure they probably charged them 20 to 30, some places $40 to park. But um, otherwise, you end up so far away. We ended up, I don't know, some business down the street. I don't know. We went to the gas station, and I was like, yeah, just go there. I don't need to go any further. I'll walk. I just want to get out the car so I can hear them get to the stadium. Didn't help me see the trophy, but so you know what? Hey, Ariel, if you just so happen to be talking to anybody with Man City and they want an opinion, just don't cut it off the line when people are standing in it. That's all I'm saying. Just cut it off and say anybody
Yeah,
else
Ariel,
already in
talk to
line
your
gets to go
people.
through, but nobody knew. I don't know.
No, I do feel that. But so the game ended 1-0. Early goal early on. I know the weather made it tough for continuous play and then, building up continuity and stuff like that. But from the viewers, I mean, even Tarik, your perspective, how was the match? How did everyone look? I was at a birthday dinner admittedly, and I had planned on watching it, but I had a Moscato margarita, like it was like a double layered. And after that bad boy, I was like, what's football? And I just basically floated around for the rest of the night. So y'all have to kind of fill me in on how the match went.
I'll defer to these guys. I'll let them go first because I've just been talking a bit. I don't want to monopolize everything. So,
Well, when I first saw the lineup, I got super excited to see Josh Wilson Esperan starting. Um, Holland excited me, but I kind of knew that was coming. But to see him start at left back, I was like, wow, like this is a big deal. This is not small fries. Because the rest of the lineup was pretty much the same from the Club America game. Oh, and Diaz starting. That was also very exciting to see him fit. And I thought of you,
Yes.
Danielle, because I noticed Danielle's guy. Um, so when I saw that, I was like, this is great. And the way it played out right from the beginning, I felt because you could tell the pitch was more narrow and that both teams had to deal with it. But I just thought City jumped on the front foot right away. And even before, the beautiful passage of play for the goal, you just saw City like keeping their foot on their necks and the press was working well. Holland's just so like imposing as he's going towards the keeper. It's crazy to look at. Like we always had a short guy in the middle. Now you get this giant running at people, and it does put fear. And Neuer is one of the best keepers in the world, but he had to get it out of there. So I was just happy to see, the guys work so well together. It was annoying with the passage, with the delay, of course. But once they got on the field and got rolling, it was like, okay, this is really, really great, and gave me a lot of hope for the rest of the year.
So three names I want to lift up. Members of the first team, like the three names: KDB, Ake, and Grealish. I thought all of them were excellent, and they looked like they were fit and in like mid-season form already. KDB especially, even in the first match in Houston, he just looks like he's ready. um, I know towards the end of the season, right? Of last season, it felt like he had gained more fitness, and he would just make the typical KDB play from last season for me was, winning a 50-50 somewhere in the midfield, um, and then picking up and just running, like reminded me of Yaya Toure, just like running straight at the goal, and either laying it off or scoring like an amazing goal from outside the box. And he was just doing that, like he was just ready. So that's a really good sign. I think it's been a really long time since we've seen KD this fit at the start of the season. So yeah, I'm just excited to see him get rolling. Grealish, he just like again, similar to KDB, it looks like he's picked up from the end of last season. I think he's a lot more decisive now. I think if he got it. So I'm thinking about his assist and how the play kind of how it unfolded. It reminded me a lot of the um, one of my favorite plays of all time. I think it was in the 2017-2018 season. It was against Stoke. And KDB had the ball kind of at the top of at the outside of the box, also on the left hand side, and he's kind of shapes his body to kind of like it looks like he's about to shoot, right, and he draws attention that way, but he lays it off to Sane, who makes kind of like a a little bit of like an elusive run into the box. And then Sane just lays it off to Sterling, I think, who slots it home. That's pretty much exactly how it played out, except instead of Sane, it's Grealish, and then instead of Sterling, it's Holland. So that just gave me a lot of joy, like that play specifically. And I think if Grealish was in that position at the beginning of last season, he would have, either tried to take another touch or do a one-on-one or something like that. But he was decisive. He just knew that he didn't really have to do that much, right? Like he just had to lay it off, and 6'4" Thor is going to be there to clean it all up, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, that was just very encouraging to see. And then Ake, I just have to say, I think that I just have to give him a lot of credit for looking sharp, not being distracted. I know that his future at City was kind of in question over the past couple of weeks with the transfer rumors to Chelsea, and that's not easy. It's not easy to stay focused if you're not really sure where you're gonna end up. So he wasn't flashy, but I thought he was solid, and yeah, I think that he's ready to make even more of a push to play more games and be in that starting 11. I think it's gonna be tough because, in my opinion, I think Laporte is our best center back and the best center back in the league, especially for the way that we play. But I think Ake can, he's more than adjusted to our style, and he's just a solid defender, and I'm looking forward to
One
seeing how
quick thing
he
before I let
develops
you
this
talk,
game
Tom.
even further.
They showed I don't know if you saw it, but after the Green Bay match, they were in the tunnel, and he was just like, I told you guys, I told you, right? And then he was like, Cal, I said the lines, if I'll be there. And so they're talking about it. They are like deep in the conversation of like where to be and what to be. And it really does seem like they're trying to make Holland's transition as smooth and easy. Just the quotes that he's saying. And even on that line, the video of like Mahrez talking to Kaiki, like basically doing the pep thing, like grabbing Kaiki and pulling him back to like tell him one more thing, and his arms are flying up and down and everything. Like I think this year is going to be really cool to see. Like obviously the players we've had for years are so comfortable in pep ball that now it's just going to be like I think we're going to have a lot of those 2017-18 style goals where it's kind of terrifying at how smooth those goals look.
We've always created that goal. That's like the prototypical City goal. Somebody's getting down that left, whether it's the left back, the left-sided winger, whoever, and they're crossing it across. And it used to be Sergio Aguero sliding through the middle, boom, just tapping it in. And I'm pretty sure we talked on this podcast multiple times this year about if he who should remain nameless comes, he's going to be able to get to that. Because we had so many times where the ball would come across and, Jack Grealish just misses it, or Sterling just misses it, or they get to it, but they put it over the top or something like that, right? And we're like, if he shows up, he's going to change that. Well, he showed up and he changed it. And I see that happening a lot this year.
I completely agree, Tarik. I think that, like, to me in the Green Bay game, the Gucci looked great to me. He was way more decisive than he had been in the last last year. You also like I think I talked about the gravity of Holland, and Charlie talked about how imposing that he was, and it was like it's always fun to think about in theory, but it's like it was actually wonderful to see it in practice and see what those how those center backs had to adjust to him. I also thought that to Charlie's point. Wilson S. Brand starting was a big deal. Um, I won't speak for the rest of the pod, but I think we've kind of touched on it before. With Fernandinho leaving, with Gabby leaving, with Roz leaving, our lineup is not looking as melanated as it has in the past. And I think that it it's really easy for me to root for um, a kid like Wilson Esbrand, just because, we don't have that representation in the squad as much as we did before. And I think that there might be some fans that don't get that, and that's fine. But I think for the fans that do get it, they will understand why him starting was a big deal, and hopefully he'll see more
Especially
time.
black folks.
I just want to follow up with that point, Tom, because when I looked at Bayern's lineup, I was like, oh my God, it's Black Bayern out here. You got Koma, Nabri, like Sane, Upamecano, Musiala. Like the list
Davies.
keeps going. They played like 7 or 8 black players, and I was like, yo, yeah, this is so dope to look at. So for us to have S Brand, Phillips coming off, even the lighter hue like you, Tom, we got the whole diaspora represented.
All the
Um,
different shades.
so we got Kyle, we got Phillips, like yeah, truly the shades of blue or black. And, shouts to the homie Mahrez, Algerian, North African, still African. Like it's just really dope. So I'm making a pledge now to make sure I get every black player's shirt. Like this year I'm gonna get Mahrez, I'm gonna get Walker. Phillips might be my third kid. Like I want to rep for us because we saw what happened to Sterling, who and people weren't supporting that man loud enough. So I want to make sure we support these brothers as much
One
as
more
possible.
guy we have to call out is Rico Lewis. Does anyone
Yep.
remember that
Yeah.
run
It was
that he
amazing.
made?
Yeah.
Just amazing. Well, Cole Palmer also was like instrumental in that play, but that's really exciting. I hadn't even heard of this kid before yesterday, to be honest, or before the game, to be honest. But yeah, that was an amazing play. How did it look in the live, Tarik?
So
I'm interested. Did he look as fast as it looked on TV?
fast, but just, so I think about Messi, right? He's just really tricky with the ball. He's also quick, right? But he's just got quick feet. I was hoping that Holland was going to be coming our direction in the first half. They were going the opposite. So we saw Holland from a distance. But that goal, it was like right there. And I was trying to record a bunch of stuff, but I was so captivated by what he was doing. My wife was like, "Aren't you going to record it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." But yeah, his feet, it was amazing to see. And but for the post, they had no answer for him. And like you said, I knew he was coming because I had seen the list of the names of who was always on the trip, but it didn't mean anything. I just was like, okay, academy kid. That was it. But do I expect to see a lot of them? No. But that run, that was nice. And these weren't, I'm pretty sure there were still some decent players for Bayern on the field at the time, too. So, yeah, he deserves props for that.
Well, we can just keep it moving and we can talk about the match in Houston before I go on my spiel about the Houston experience. 2-1, City 1, beat Club America. The game was very chippy. I'm aware that that's how Club America plays, but I was not expecting them to bring that level of chip. What I will say is everyone was cheering for Jack Grealish until Grealish got up and started pushing. That's once they started booing. And I brought my girlfriend with, and she literally turns to me and she goes, why are they booing Jack? And I'm like, that's them. That's not us. It sounded so loud. She thought City fans were also booing. And I was like, no, that's just Gucci Grealish. Wherever he goes, he's just hated. He's gorgeous. He's supported by Gucci. He comes up and he pushes dudes. Like in theory, you're supposed to just get chopped down and get up and be classy. And he's just like, no, bro, you want to fight. And I love that edge. Like the people we brought in were the right people. And helping Grealish even feel more comfortable, because I feel like maybe next year he might not, or last year he might not have gotten up and started pushing dude like that. But he feels supported in his team. Like he knew, if I'm gonna get up and start some shit, I got these dudes behind me who will fight, and they were. They were in that. And the giant screen at the stadium actually turned off it because I assume they thought that an actual fight was about to happen. So that was kind of cool because everyone's just like standing up. Uh, the area was very loud. My voice was kind of hoarse. But I will get into that. But how was the match from the viewer's perspective? Because it was a
So
pretty
let me just
entertaining
jump in
match.
real quick and say Grealish is that dude. Grealish is that dude, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I like it because last year I felt like there were too many times, especially the first half of the season, he was just trying to be nice and just fit in. I think towards the end of the season, you started to see more of his character and more of just his personality come out, and we saw that in spades in that game against
Hello.
America. I'm sitting here watching it at home, and I'm like, I want him to stop just because I don't want them to keep kicking him and he get hurt. But I'm loving how he's like rubbing their face in it. Like, you can't get the ball off me, dude. You got to knock me down, but I'm gonna jump back up and get in your face and let you know that I'm not afraid of you. So I love that about him, and I look forward to seeing that Jack this year in the Premier League, truly terrorizing defenses.
To me, so much of that match was the true CONCACAF experience, save for there was not some egregious red card foul that was called a yellow. You had a shoddy pitch. You had an entertaining match. You had a player, like just individual, like one player individual brilliance. And I also will say that, like, even though like he's way better than this league, if Jack Grealish ever wanted to learn Spanish and like retire to Liga MX, that would actually be a perfect league for him as a retirement league, just because he would play into that and the fans would eat it up. So I also, like, I was not expecting KDB to look as great as he did in the first preseason match. Like, you would have thought that, we just got to the Champions League knockout stages the way that he was playing. So that's really, really encouraging.
We
I
gave props
that's
to
pretty much all I got.
Espran, who played in that game too. But I think we got to give props to Mbite as well. The center back started, and I want to say played that entire game out in Houston. Um, so got to give him props on TV. So I felt like he didn't really make any major mistakes or anything like that. I felt he was assured and all that was fine. I feel like watching him on TV. I was kind of like, he's kind of, I don't want to say gangly, but not the smoothest necessarily, which kind of made me think Mangala a little bit. But then he didn't make any mistakes, so it's like, okay, let's see how he does. I hope he gets a chance. I hope, again, I hope he's not. Well, let me say it this way: I hope he doesn't have to get a chance, because that means that our normal center backs stay healthy all season long. But in the cup games, and we've already got Champions League place sewn up. So go ahead and give. I hope he gets games. I hope he gets games.
One of the things about Mbete, I agree. He was very tentative. He did not make a long pass at all. Like every pass he made, the person was maybe 6 meters away. And there were multiple times where he could have made like a forward pass, but he would pass it back to Ake, and then it would make it hot for Ake because Ortega was so far back, and it he needs to get a little more comfortable. I will say it's funny that he looked gangly on television because what I would say is he looked huge in person. There are a few people like Kyle Walker, like we know he's a fit dude, but in person he looked real svelte. There are a few people that I was experienced. Mares, I might have written it in here. I take back all Mares slander I've ever said. Just seeing him in practice, the things he was getting off, the touch, he would just throw a leg out and it would look like he was doing it haphazardly, but truly it was controlled. Like the ball, he would just throw the leg out and the ball would just pop right in front of him and he'd catch it with the left and then kick it right back to the person. During the drills, just how pivotal he is to that team. Naturally, when the game starts in the season, it might change, but he was killing it during the preseason games. He looked great. I am very happy in seeing him. So, Monrez, I'm so sorry I coming at you like I did this last season. Seeing you in person has made a believer out of me. Like Charlie would say, my Algerian king. But I want to talk about my experience in Houston between Twitter and IG. If you guys follow me on both, you viewed the full Manchester City and the US experience. I don't want to go into too much details about specifically what I'm doing because I am working on a 2-part article on my Man City experience for Bitter and Blue. What I will say is what I didn't put in the article, at least all of the Man City official clubs that showed up and showed me love. Obviously, MCFC Houston, MCFC Dallas. I appreciate you guys, Mole in particular. At the event at the Phoenix and Westheimer, I had a drink bought from me from someone who was from MCFC Houston, and I just thought she was being a nice Texan. Apparently, she was hitting on me, but she did get a number that night, so good on her. Good on her. It was lit. It was a good time. Her and her girl gang, they were super dope. They might have bullied me a little bit, but I'm a big dude, so I think maybe they just thought I could handle it. I don't know. I appreciate y'all, but they said if I didn't mention to them, they wouldn't listen to the podcast again. So please.
Well, shoot, if they're gonna listen, you might go call out names and whatever else they want.
If we're gonna be honest, I don't even think I asked them. I was pretty smacked by that time. But Mulp, that lovely little bald man, most welcoming energy, Mulp of noisy neighbors. Like what a guy. Invited me to sit with his family during the close practice. Stanley, my guy, MCFC Birmingham. He's the one who introduced me to Topo Chico seltzers, which was the thing that really threw me off at that event. I had a beer and a Topo Chico seltzer on me at all times. It was great. Met so many Man City US people in real life. Benny and Ariel, met them in real life. That was crazy. That was great. Exciting to meet both of them. Again, shout outs to the Noisy Boys in Main Road for throwing a live pod. Well, trying to throw a live pod. There were technical issues, and that does happen. But Noisy Boys made a quick pivot to becoming DJ extraordinaires. So that's great. Passed out, woke up, went to this place called Grinders Coffee. And I 1,000% recommend that place to anyone in Houston. Big time. We have great coffee where I live. There's one spot in particular, and they reminded me of that spot, but Grinders was so much better. And I had a red eye cold brew. I didn't even know they put the espresso in there. That's how well it just blended. It was great. It saved my life because I was hurting, like I said. I was able to be on BBC Radio Manchester with John Ashley and Main Road and Blue Moon Burt talking about the Man City Houston experience. That was great. The pre-match event at Pitch 25, which is, if you can imagine this place, imagine a warehouse. If you put a mini pitch, an indoor and outdoor space, a kitchen, a bar with 80 beers in it, and plenty of space for just people to vibe out. That was Pitch 25. It was so cool. And again, Mulf coming in clutch. Let me sit at his table with his amazing wife. I was able to take photos with Moonbeam, Moonchester, Jolien Lescott, got interviewed by Natalie Pike. It was just amazing. It was best case scenario. As a City fan who's never been able to be at a City event, and we're relatively new to the whole City podcast community. So anyone who asked me anything, I was fitting in our podcast in that fucking conversation. And I was making sure I watched you look up our podcast and follow it. I don't care if you listen to it, but it's gonna keep looking at you every time we drop an episode. And in fact, since I gotten home from Texas, will be like the 4th episode we dropped. So it's like you're gonna see us. So hopefully you gave one of those listens, any of those people that I may or may not have pressured into following our podcast. Appreciate you though. The match itself was great, nice and packed. The stadium was luckily covered and air conditioned, so we weren't melting. Sat in the fan section. Everyone was chanting very well. I started to chant. My voice was a little whack for like 36 hours. They did the wave there. I don't know if they did it in Green Bay. I am very anti-wave. I will do it the first time to just seem like a team player, but that's about it. It went around 6 times. Like we need to retire that shit. Like I get it. The wave was revolutionary when it came out when my grandpa was a baby. Like you got to relax. You got to relax. Overall, I want to say thank you to every person who I met. And when I told them my name was Crunk Chocolate, you didn't question me. You just went, one more time. Appreciate you. Like that's a whole thing. BBC Radio Manchester though, when I
They
told them
hit you
Crunk
with the.
Chocolate, they were
They
just
would hit
like,
you with the. Nah, his
can we
mama call
use
him Royce. I'ma call him Royce. They hit you with the Muhammad Ali. His mama call him Clay.
yeah,
I'ma call him Clay.
yeah, uh-huh. They were like, and I even told them, I was like, I would appreciate you if you call me Crunk Chocolate. And they're like, yeah, totally. And then they're like, we have Royce on the line. And I was like, oh, you sons of bitches. All right. Hey, how's it going? But I was, like I said, able to be interviewed by Natalie Pike. That was on Van City's YouTube channel. So that was very cool. And Natalie, if you're listening right now, I hope you're enjoying it. Rate us 5 stars, please, and thank you. And that's basically all I'll talk about my Houston experience. I mean, unless I don't have any specific questions, but look out for my 2-part article coming out on Bitter and Blue soon. But let's quickly move to transfer talk. The Brighton financial director, whoever that is, he came out with a little tweet that has kind of brought back the energy of Cucurella to Man City back. Other than that, there really hasn't been much noise. Southampton seems to be trying to get any City player they can get. I know this whole thing is City should meet in the middle when it comes to Cucurella. Like that makes the most sense. We have the money to afford it. Brighton are over-evaluating the player, so what makes sense is we meet in the middle. But I feel like City have been strong holding just like everyone this summer. I feel like if we give too much to Brighton, that could maybe mess up everything that we're also doing. I'm also not empathizing for Brighton. So I feel like that's also kind of where maybe we're like clashing because everyone's like, yeah, we should meet in the middle. And I'm like, no, we're evaluating what we're evaluating. Like if we do 40 million plus City have lost. I think we have to do 30, 35 plus maybe 10, 15 in additions. But if we offer them 40, honestly, we've lost and we've definitely overpaid. Yes, he's great and we know he's going to be great, but City have messed up. It's been a while since we messed up, but like he could be a Mangala. Like it could be a thing where he's just like so set on leaving. Does he want to come to City or does he just want to go to a great team? Like everyone's saying, he can end up at La Maza. Like shit could get crazy. So how do you guys feel about Cucurella? And then hopefully we can do like Holland and never talk about him again until he officially becomes a City player.
I wonder if the club's valuation of Cucurella, if Wilson S. Brand's progress as a player is part of that evaluation and why necessarily the club is not willing to go over that valuation for Cucurella. Just based off of the fact that they have a younger homegrown option that is obviously markedly cheaper on your roster already. And yeah, Pep even said, he's been hurt the last 2 years, but like we definitely were looking for him to be a contributor in the last 2 years. So, is he ready now? Is he able to stay healthy and on the field? And I just wonder if that went into the club's mindset of like, this is our discussion with Brighton.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The price is the price, and we're not moving off of that.
Esperan in person was pretty impressive because, again, I didn't know what to expect outside of the rare, academy clips or whatever. But um, he held his own, and I am. I don't want to say I'm sure, but I'm probably sure that Cucurella is, a little bit further along in his development. He's a couple years older as well, but he doesn't offer the. If we just evaluated Zinni as a left back, forgetting all the adaptability and flexibility that Zinni offered by being able to play in the midfield, if all we were looking at is a left back, I don't think there's much of a drop off between, at least in that game, between Zinni as a left back and Esperan as a left back. Now, the expectation is that Cucurella is going to be above that, and I'm sure that's probably true, but there is a limit to how much I would pay for that when I have Esperan in my back pocket. Now, again, we don't know if he'll be able to stay healthy. It doesn't sound like he's been able to do that very much these last few years. But um, I'm kind of opposite you, Crunk. I think that 40. I would do 40. I wouldn't go much above that. Now, again, you can add in the because they still had to come down to get to that place. But I do agree that as a club, if we have a number, we're probably not going to go above that number. The longer we hold out, though, the longer we wait, the fewer options are on the table. The David Rahm option is now off the table, and there's a couple others as well. So I think we just need to make a decision. Either we're gonna make the move or we're not, and just get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no reason why Wilson Esbrand shouldn't be getting, you know, 5 to 10 games in the upcoming season. I think he seems like, I don't know if he's ready to, take up the mantle of a full time left back, but I think that he could. They're really different players, like him and Zinchenko, but I think that he could sort of fill like a similar sort of role, just in terms of how much game time he's getting. But that being said, I think the fact that they let Zinchenko go to Arsenal means that they expect to bring in another left back, another senior left back, whether it's Cucurella or it's somebody else. And I think it's totally possible that they see Wilson Esbrand as part of the future at left back, which is why they're not, desperate to get somebody like Cucurella in. But I also think I have doubts that Pep is gonna see Wilson Esbrand and just think that, oh, okay, it's fine. Like if we just go with him, right? Because even if we just went with, even if Wilson Esbrand was ready, right? I just think that looking at how things played out towards the end of last season, where we were playing Fernandinho at right back, Stones at right back, like that's not ideal. Like you can't just run with 3 fullbacks, right? And I know Ake can fill in, but you also need 4 center backs. So 1 or 2 injuries, and you're just like in a difficult situation again. So I think that they absolutely need to bring in another left back. I think it's a similar situation to the start of the 2020-2021 season, where they were after Koulibaly, right? We were all I mean, at least I was pretty sure that he would eventually come in, and they even had they sent out that email, right, where it was like, win a Kalidou Koulibaly shirt by entering this competition. Like they had like the promotional material set up because it was looking pretty likely, and then it fell through. And then we got Ruben Diaz because Cheeky and Pep were, they had just agreed that like, okay, we're getting somebody in, like it has to happen. And I think that's the case for left back, especially after Zinchenko was, allowed to go to Arsenal. So yeah, I think I don't know if Cucurella is going to happen. I would lean towards yes, probably, but I also just, I think that they absolutely 100% will be getting another senior left back before the end
Yeah,
of the
and I'm
transfer
here
window.
for another left back from the game. What I was able to watch, he has Wilson Esperan. He has he's very aggressive. Like you could see him watching defensively. He has better defensive awareness and tendencies than Zinchenko, because Zinchenko is better offensively, but he also looked incredibly comfortable on the attacking end. Like you saw him looking for the pass first, but then had no problem like cutting in and trying to take his time to make the right pass. But there were definitely moments where he came gunning in to try to cut out a pass and would miss it, or the person would see that and then pass elsewhere. So then he now has like ruined all positioning for everybody because of where he has, because now everyone needs to fill that space, or a runner fills that space type of thing. So he still needs to kind of learn about his consequences. But he looked the part. He looked great. And yeah, let's keep it moving. Tom, what's been going on with Man City women in World Comps?
I just want to say this initially. This is to England's manager, Serena Wegman. Rachel Daly is not a left back. Please do not play Rachel Daly as left back. You have a left back in Alex Greenwood, who plays for Manchester City, that should be starting at left back for England. If you're trying to do Gareth a favor and lay off her legs, don't worry. You know, we don't play our first match until August 18th when we, excuse me, when we play Tomiris Turan of Kazakhstan for the UWCL playoff. But that definitely needs to happen. She needs to be playing if you guys want to if you want it to come home. I will also say, shout out to Dana Castellanos, because she put Venezuela on her back for Copa America Femenina. Almost every goal that Venezuela scored, she scored, including the one in the 5th place match yesterday, which was an equalizer in stoppage time. And the way that Copa America is set up, it's tied at extra time, they go straight to PKs. They don't, or tied at the end of regular time, they go straight to PKs. Unfortunately, they did lose 4-2 on penalties. Let's see. Felipe Angeldal is still in the Euros for Sweden. Was playing as part of a double pivot for in their midfield, which will be interesting to see if Gareth will use that same tactic going forward. Also, I think I mentioned in last week's episode that the schedule had dropped. I just want to highlight a couple of key matches. The first match of the season is actually at home to Arsenal, so that's going to be a huge match to just put ourselves in the running to make sure that they know that we are coming for the Super League title. 9:25, we go to Chelsea. 12:11, we host the Derby. 3:26, we go to Chelsea again, or excuse me, we host Chelsea. 4-2, we play Arsenal away. And on the penultimate game of the season, we have the Derby away. Also, the Super League changed where you can Paramount Plus bought their rights, so you can stream them the same place that you stream all the Champions League matches.
Nice. What I will say, I forgot to mention it when we were talking about the preseason games in general, and this isn't even about Wilso. Chelsea lost to Charlotte FC. I just really wanted to laugh at them about that. Honestly, all these preseason matches, I know United fans are super excited about how their team looks, but I'm not worried about anybody out there.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I'm gonna tell you something straight off the motherfucking press. I ain't coming for no foolishness.
Keep it moving. The 100th edition of the FA Community Shield is happening. The Premier League champions, who are Manchester City, against the FA Cup winners, who are Liverpool. King Power Stadium at 11 a.m. my time, which is a very comfortable thing for me. I thought I'd go to a bar and yell at the TV in public, but it's on ESPN Plus, so that means I gotta watch it at home. Can City continue the good energy and secure our first trophy on our way to a quadruple? City are 6-7 in the competition after losing to Leicester last year. Kind of ironic that the match is at King Power Stadium. What do you think the starting 11 will be? Like, who Are you expecting to see a 100% City side? Is Pep going to take this very seriously, Tom?
Oh, definitely. I think that you're going to see the first choice back line. You're going to see Kyle Walker. You're going to see on the right. You're going to see Cancelo on the left. I think it'll be interesting to me to see, because to me, I think whatever center back pairing that he picks for this match, that's going to be his favored center back pairing match going forward for the season. And I think any deviation from that should raise question marks, either like, oh, well, this player just needs a rest, or it's like, oh, this player's not in great form, or something like that. I think you'll see our midfield, like the same midfield that we've been using with Rodri and Bernardo in the double pivot, letting KDB have all that space in the front of the midfield. Obviously, Norwegian Thor is going to start up top. I think Jack earned the start on the left. I just based off of what he did in Green Bay. I think that we'll probably see Mahrez on the right. Just some veteran presence in there. But yeah, that's obviously Ederson in goal. So I think that's the lineup that I'm looking at anyway.
Score prediction, real quick. So before you go.
Oh, I'm gonna go with a 3-2 for us. I think this game has a lot of goals in it. Just because I think that both teams are trying to be sorting out their defense a little bit. And Liverpool's going to figure out what life without Sadio Mane is like. I don't know if I rate him so highly, but I also think that might be a addition by subtraction as well. Just because of all of the other pieces that they have around there, and you just whatever tension that he and Mo Salah had, CAF did not do Liverpool any favors by scheduling them, together for the World Cup knockouts. So,
yeah, I think Tom's spot on with the lineup, but I think that his Pep's favorite starting center back combo going forward, at least to start the season, is going to be Laporte and Dias. I think for the simple reason that Stones is not vaccinated, I think that would have pissed him off. Like, you would think that would piss him off, right? With already a compressed schedule for the off season, he wants every single competitive edge, and I think that when you don't, we're not going to get into politics on this pod, but it's just a simple fact that if you don't take a relatively easy step of just getting that competitive edge, that's gonna upset the coach. So yeah, I think it's gonna be Laporte and Dias to start.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and you wonder if that's why the U23s are where are they? They're in either Croatia or Serbia. I think it was Serbia, right? Training, and that's where Gundogan and Foden and Stones, they're training with them, and you wonder if it's because that specific country did not have admission, vaccination admission requirements, which, and I would imagine that you would think that English manager would probably want his players to be vaccinated too. I don't know if you can get into Qatar without being vaccinated. I'm guessing that based off of the amount of players that were not able to travel to destinations where there is vaccination requirements, that they would not have it, but I don't know that for sure.
I think Danielle mentioned Laporte as our primary left-sided center back. And I think that will be the case for the season. I don't think he's healthy yet. I know he was having, I think it was knee issues late in our Champions League run and effectively played through it, which is prolonging his recovery. So I do think that Ake will be the starting. He'll start alongside Diaz in the Community Shield match, um, as opposed to Stones coming in. As a matter of fact, to your point, I think Stones, Gunnawan, and Foden will start off the bench just because you haven't been able to be there alongside Pep. Yes, you were working. Yes, you were training, but you weren't there with the rest of the team. And I think that's going to work against those guys to some extent. I fully expect Foden to play his way back in. But we've seen with those center backs that Pep, if a center back is on a roll, he's going to stick with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Ake all the way until Laporte is back. So we'll see. As far as this match, Community Shield, I could see it going because I think after the regular time, it goes straight to penalties, baby. I could see this going to penalties, but I'm gonna, just because I don't want to call a draw, I'll say we take it 2-1. But I think for the most part, the rest of the lineup is probably what I believe Thom spelled out. So yeah.
And there are no technical vaccination requirements in Qatar. If you are unvaccinated, you just have to take a PCR test, and then when you leave, if you are vaccinated, they just have you take a antigen test. But so yeah, no, it's pretty. Looks like it's pretty chill there. You just gotta pass a PCR test. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Pep plays the players who weren't able to play in the U.S. just because Pep sometimes is chaotic when it comes to trophy competitions. But I would like to think that he's going to try to start our season off on a positive note, especially after how last year he played a not so strong side and the team we played brought it. And, we lost out on a trophy. And I think, obviously, other than fatigue and everything, that sometimes you can power through fatigue and stuff like that if you're winning, if you start off with on a high. And so I think this is needed to start the season with a title trophy prediction.
I think it'll be interesting to see, like, because it was obvious, like, Leicester came out to play last year because they knew that was their shot at a trophy, even if it was quote unquote just the Community Shield. I think Liverpool has higher aspirations than that. So I would be interested to see what level of commitment that Klopp and Liverpool puts into this. I do also think that Klopp enjoys managing against Pep, and I think Pep enjoys managing against Klopp just because of the challenges that they present to each other. So I could see a scenario in which Liverpool also starts a very, very strong lineup as well.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I think that outside of England, the analog to the Community Shield is, they call it like the Super Cup, right? Spanish Super Cup, German Super Cup, and to my understanding, it seems to be a bigger deal in other top leagues compared to England. So that could be another component to it, right? Pep and Klopp, they're not from England. They might just care. They just probably see it as the English Super Cup, right? So, and also, like, I don't know, there's no reason why you can't, like, it's a trophy. Like, there's no reason why you can't make it a bigger deal than the media or traditional fans might make it seem, right? Like, it's a trophy, right? Like, you can make it competitive. Like, it's not the preseason anymore, right? Like, it's a part of the history of the league. So, yeah, I think that they're going to take it seriously, and I want them to. Like, I would love for the Community Shield to become, part of the trophy haul that we sort of talk about when, Crunk, you mentioned part of the quadruple. Yes. It would actually be the quintuple, because the quadruple is the FA
we want
Cup,
all them trophies,
and including the Carabao Cup. So that would be nice to win the quintuple this season.
I got some trophies up in my daughter's closet that we want to win too. We want all the trophies, wherever they come from.
Let's go. Let's go. Oh,
Man, let's go.
And
Let's
we're going to
go.
go ahead and throw on the Vitality Women's FA Cup
know
and the
what? I
Conti
definitely
Cup
think
and the
that's going to
Women's
be a
Super
tough
League title
game.
on
I
top
think
of
both
that.
teams are going to go out for it and try to win it. And you saw that in the game against Club America in Houston. We brought in a lot of our academy kids. Everybody got run out. Everybody. In that Bayern game, they came out with a really strong lineup. We came out with a really strong lineup. And it felt like both teams were playing to win. And yes, there was some trophy that they were going to hand out, but I don't think that was it. I just think it was the ability to measure these two giants of the game against each other. And I don't know, maybe Pep had a little, want to win against his former club. I don't know, but I don't see Klopp or Pep, for that matter, just being like, it's no big deal. No, somebody's going to want to, they're both sides are going to want to win it. Only one of us will, but they're both going to go out to try to win it, even if it is a second-rate trophy.
You play to win the game.
Yes,
you
thank
don't
you.
play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win.
What's Herman's last name? Herman.
hello.
Shout out to Arizona
Edwards.
State
Yes,
football.
You play to win the game.
They're in so much NCAA trouble. Like, I don't know what they did, but like, I'm pretty sure whatever is left of the NCAA, since they've downsized, all of their enforcement officers are looking at ASU right now.
Which that has to be hard to do, since they're letting people, make money with the NIL stuff going on. So what did you have to do for them to come after you now?
And they're not
point?
even good
My
like
God.
that too. So it's just like, what were you doing to be like average? Like, that's sad. That's tough.
I was gonna make a joke. He needs to hire the city lawyers. It's like
money,
when financial fair play, UEFA, man, we ain't worried about y'all. We got these lawyers over here. I'm gonna hook Herm Edwards up. You need to write lawyers, man. And I say that with no sincerity, all in jest. I don't want any traditional city fan listening for the first time to, get upset. It's just jokes, man. It's just jokes.
With that, we have arrived at the end of the episode. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you listeners. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. This is the point as where we all plug ourselves. Tarik, you go ahead and let people know let's start with Thom. Thom Bomb, because I know you're still here, so I appreciate that. So Thom Bomb, let's start with you.
Yes, you all can find me on social media at ThomBomb816. That's THOMBOMB 816.
This is Tarik at Tarik Peterson, TARIK PETERSON. One more shout out to my man Shu from Canada. Nice chatting city with you, man.
I'm on Twitter, kind of blue, with 3 underscores.
And Charlie's account is at CWMSIV. And I am Crunk Chocolate, CRUNKCHOCOLATE. Make sure you listen to this back catalog of episodes. Like I said, the 4th episode in 4 days. We got 2 Represent episodes. We got a Euros episode that fills you in on what happened and what could potentially be happening. So, and you got we got football content all over the place. We here for you. United States' most comprehensive podcast. We out here repping from the Mississippi River to the Pacific. You should know the vibes by now. Shady gang, shady gang, shady gang.